Guys, welcome back to Ocean Monmouth County's #1 real estate podcast. I'm Yaakov Tenenbaum, this is Anthony Pezzello, and this is Daniel Zahner. Today we're going to talk about specifically all the new laws that came out and how it's going to play out for all our clients.
Correct. So one of the new laws that came out, if you're on the market to buy or sell a home, it's all the new buyer's agency agreements, right? And that's going nationwide starting August 17th. However, in New Jersey, it started August 1st.
So we're well into it.
It's to provide more transparency for buyers and sellers and to be able to better represent our client. 100%.
But it kind of became a misunderstood standard in the industry that the sellers had to pay. So long story short, there were a couple of sellers that came together and they filed a class action lawsuit. And because of that, there was a settlement that led to these laws. Now every buyer has to have agreement with their buyer's brokerage. Danny, if you want to elaborate on that.
It makes it more options for the buyers, meaning they can choose how much they want to pay their agent, as it was always been negotiable.
That's
but
why
it
I'm glad
makes
we're not doing
more
that.
options of how the buyer could pay the agent.
It also, I'm actually excited about it too, because it gives you more opportunity to negotiate for both parties, depending on which one you're representing, right? Instead of having a standard. So it makes sense while it happened. Now, just be clear, commissions are always negotiable, right? That never changed. Now, I think there was like around 16 states where you already had to have a buyer's agency agreement signed. New Jersey wasn't one of them, right? And a lot of agents I know out of state are like, how are you showing homes without an agreement?
Right.
How are you protected? Well, it's been the standard.
These laws are just becoming a thing in our state. But
Yeah, there's always buyer agency agreements. I know people in New Jersey that signed them and it wasn't there. So like I said, I think it's fantastic because now you have a better opportunity, I think, to negotiate if you understand what you're doing for both sides. So both sides might even benefit from this a lot more. Like I'm excited for it because I can fight a lot more harder for my client.
Oh, and I think it's now more in the know of why a buyer's agent is valuable, as it shows the seller's agent has always been there for the seller.
Yeah.
And now they see the buyer's agent is really representing them, the listing agent, and they're not representing you, they're representing the seller.
Well, yeah, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the seller. That's the thing too. That's the great part too, because now as a buyer's agent, you have more security, right? That with your client, most realtors work as hard as they can, but there's just so much more negotiations you can do to make your offer better and stuff like that. So like I said, I'm excited for it because it actually keeps everything, I think, very fair.
And just to add on to that, agents, right? We're in this every day, right? So we understand what kind of terms can actually make a difference. It's not always about the price. There's so many terms that could actually make a difference. And I've had a lot where it actually got us the deal just because, and I'm sure you both have had that.
Well, I always say if you go to the seller's agent, you may get the house. It's going to be at the seller's term, seller's price.
And there's so many variables too, right? When you look at it, and like the motivations, the goals of both parties. What are the terms, the specific terms, like you said, that people have, and like how to craft your offer. So like now having that, now obviously we'll go over the buyer's agency agreement a little bit, but it really opens it up to where I think it's going to be better and easier to get the best offer for your clients, right? So,
and I think every good agent out there, they're not there just to ransack. They're there to get the best deal for their client. And I think it's something important for everybody out there in the market to understand.
Yeah, 100%. All offers are different. The good part is there is flexibility with the documents too. Like that's what I like the part too, because we're getting protected. And the commissions are still negotiable no matter what. And I think everyone's going to be a better spot. One thing I think though, what is going to happen is people who are operating as a buyer's agent, right? That we're realtors, right? So you see stuff online. How do I become a listing agent? Well, there is no difference between a listing agent and a buyer's agent, right? We're realtors. Depends on what party you're representing. I think what's going to happen is the value proposition is really going to have to get stepped up. You're going to have to do what we say we're going to do, right? What are some things that make you think adds value? What's your guys' some of your value proposition that a buyer would want to work with you? Right? Like what are some unique things that you guys do if you're trying to find a home? There's not a lot of inventory.
It's knowing the local market. A lot of times you just want information on areas. You want to know the prices and things like that. We go down to each step and show you what the area is like, what the prices you can get it for, and just have your best interest in mind to get the house at the best price.
Yeah.
I think just to add to that, and I hear the biggest things I hear are communication. They want to know that you're going to be able to be reachable, A, and B, that they could trust you. At the end of the day, this is the largest transaction they're going to do in their life. They want to know they're taken care of they're gonna be able to reach you when they need to. If they have a problem, something suddenly pops up that we know is not a problem, they'll reach out to us. We'll calm them down. They know that when we tell them something, we're not just there to get the deal done. We're telling them what we actually believe will help them. I think that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing that people look for when they're trying to buy a house.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at it too, like
or sell a house.
Yeah, like we're pretty much their advocate. They're depending on us because most people don't. They do this a couple times in their life.
Or
they may think they know the process, so they read something online. But once you start having so many transactions under your belt, there's no transaction that's like different attorneys, different buyer, different seller, different realtor, and like you hit it on the head. Communication is so important. Like so. Same thing, like we were talking about, what's your value? I'm a texter, but when you're negotiating transactions, it's nice to establish a relationship. You want to know who you're working with, right? Because
you got to pick up
you know that you're always
communication is key now more than ever.
Yeah, and and it goes a long way. But like same thing, like it's a tight market where we are right now, especially with values keep on going up. Interest rates came down a little bit, but it's not extreme. But values are still going up. We all know we can go online and find Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, all these sites out there. Clients look at it all the time. They look at it more than us a lot of times because, let's face it, if they're on the market to buy a home, they're getting their own alerts. But what other things that we can offer to help them find a home? Okay, well, let me go check all the expireds that never sold in the past 3 years. It might be your criteria. Cool part is those values were 15% lower, right? So they might be able to get a better home now than they could have in the past, like expires, old like properties that were taken off the market. Hey, I want to be in this specific neighborhood. Okay, I'll send out mailers or I'll make phone calls. Yes, our job is to help them find a home. We all know what's on the market. Well, hey, when I explain to my buyers now, this is what I'm going to do. We're all going to know what's on the market, right? We'll go see the ones that are there. But in the meantime, the closer we hone into where we want to be specifically and the type of home, go get the data. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to find it for you. When you go out and you knock in a neighborhood, some homeowners might complain. Well, guess what? If they were looking for a home,
what do you want me to do the best job? Exactly.
Yeah, same thing.
That's great. I have a question I wanted to gear towards you. Some people think that when they have a signed agreement with the agent as a buyer, they automatically have to pay a commission, right?
Right. Putting in a buyer's agent agreement and signing does not mean you need to pay. First, you have to go check out the house. Then you have to put in an offer. When we get paid is when you are happy and find the house that you like. It's at the end of the closing.
Yeah, when you close.
Once you close that, and not just that, the agreement, all it's saying, right?
Oh, it's a loyalty agreement. I mean, I can't show my own mother a house.
It's like a listing agreement.
Without
it's the same thing.
A signature.
100%.
It's just a new program. That's what we're doing. It's not a whole, it's official. It's signature. You don't need to pay anything right now. You can always end it if it's not working out.
Same thing with the listing, though. You can't list a home without an agreement. You can't legally promote a property. Like off markets used to be bigger back in the day, and then they stopped it. You can't promote a property unless you have an agreement. So that's why it's nice with this.
So you can't show a house without an agreement.
And it protects everybody. But I think, this is my opinion, right? I think majority of sellers will still offer some type of compensation because they want the most amount of exposure. And so I think it'll be there, but that protects us also. Okay, so if they're not those hard conversations, it's not a hard conversation. It's like, this is the facts. Hey, if the seller's not going to pay a compensation, there's going to be an agreement for a certain amount that we're going to get compensated for our work on that side. So it definitely protects us also. I mean, and that's the thing. Commissions are always negotiable.
Why would I want to minimize my exposure to only people that are paying out of their pocket or don't have an agent? I want to incorporate everybody.
There's another thing that on the buyer's agent agreement, a buyer can sign that they don't want to see a house that is not offering compensation.
100%.
So when a seller doesn't offer compensation, they're neglecting so many buyers.
Possibly. Well, you look at a lot of first-time home buyers too, right? They may not have a lot of money to put down, or depending on their financing, or like you're going 3.5% down on an FHA mortgage. You'll limit people like that who may have a stronger offer. They may not have liquid cash available, but they may be able to have a stronger offer. So you're also potentially could be missing out on that too. And that's the whole thing. Like when you're selling a home, you want the most exposure possible. That's going to bring you the most amount of money possible. But even at the same time, if they're not going to, if they have, we're not paying out a commission, I could still say, okay, you're not paying out a commission. That's no problem. Here's my price, but this is a commission I'm going to request. They could say no.
Meaning you as a buyer's agent.
Yeah, as a buyer's agent. Like I
it's part of the contract.
Yeah, whether they're paying out or not, I could still submit one and do it. Now, if my buyer doesn't want to see a home, that's okay. That's no problem. And yeah, it's going to limit a lot of exposure too. Especially like, I think like more like first-time home buyers, or maybe like downsizers.
100%.
I think that's the biggest thing that we make very clear, that it's always been negotiable. Even if the seller isn't offering compensation, a buyer can always put it in the offer.
There was times where
always
a seller was paying, they're paying out a buyer's agent compensation. And you can still negotiate that along the way. And
Always.
it's always been like
Yep.
that, so I think the transparency is going to be good. And I think it's going to be fun negotiating because there's going to be so many opportunities now to really how to craft an offer to make sure your buyer's in the best running.
It's not really a bad thing. It's just a whole new way that we're going to do it. And it could lead to much more straightforward transactions, much more straightforward situations in general.
I think it's going to be fun to negotiate too, because now you almost have a lot more control as a buyer's agent to be more competitive at certain sides too. Like let's say, hey, a buyer, they're willing to pay me a certain commission or percentage, right? That they'll do that at closing. Well, if I know that that's happening, that can make our offer a lot stronger. However, I still want to work for them the best, but that might make their offer stronger as opposed to someone else doesn't want to pay their buyer agent too, right? Because that could put more money, net the seller more money.
This is just working out the way it should have been ever since the day I walked into real estate.
And we're protected also at the same time. And that's a benefit for the realtors too. Because let's face it, dude, what's the most amount of homes you ever showed one client?
You ask, I think the most houses I showed to a client, I think was just around 25 houses to one person.
A lot of time.
It's a lot. Think about it. It's first of all, it was at least a 20-minute drive each way. Some of them were even 40 minutes because they were very unsure where they want to go. The house, the showing in itself could be anywhere from a half hour to an hour. You start adding up those hours, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Without the buyer's agent agreement, we were showing people houses for 6 months plus, a year, 2 years, and
With
they
no
would
real security.
no security on either side, and it was just a text. Oh, this agent sent me a text first. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with them.
Yeah.
Well, there was no loyalty. There was no transparency, no community.
It was
Now
like a relay
they
race.
understand. Yeah, no, now they understand the whole value. And I have so many clients that go, it's like the oh moment. Wow, this is really what you do.
But now
Yeah,
when
an
you're representing buyers, you better step your game up and not just like be an order taker and a door opener.
Right.
You have to provide value. So I think that's good for the industry too, because I don't want to say I want people to leave, but it may shake out people where if you're not offering value, someone's not going to want to work with you anymore.
So for
Everyone's gonna have to
sellers,
step their game up.
well, no, I was gonna say they always say location, location, location. I think when you're working with a buyer's agent, it's communication, communication, communication.
100%.
Yeah, they want someone who's a local market expert that knows what they're doing. Majority of the people want that because it's not an easy process, especially in this market, which is just what rates. The market's changing a little bit. You're seeing, depending on where you're located, days on markets are sitting longer. You're seeing people backing out of transactions.
100%.
And 2 years ago, it was just like, close your eyes, buy a home. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Now it's normalizing. So you're going to really have to step up their value for really what they do.
Just to add on what I was saying, people are not just going to hire their buyers, their cousin's brother-in-law as their buyer's agent either. Now everybody's going to actually have to show their value.
I don't know. I have a saying, I don't treat you like a friend when you're my client. I treat everyone like a client.
Yeah.
Everyone gets treated the same.
Yeah. Well, that's how your business grows too, right? If you're not offering value or something like that. Referrals are, listen, we can all buy leads and all that stuff. You got to work them anyway. It's hard, but you have to build a relationship. But when you have a successful transaction and that person knows that their best interest, that
I was thinking the same, yeah.
I was literally, you took the words out of my mouth.
That you're working hard for them and they know that we care about their best interest, they're going to refer you out too. They're like, wow, this guy, he actually found me a home, or he helped me do this. Man, great negotiation skills, right? He gave me all these opportunities besides what was out there. And that's a large part of our business too. And that's what helps with this too, right? Because now we equally have to be more committed than just, oh, here's a home, you want to go see it. No, you better get to work and do this because one, this is what we do for a living. Our income depends on that. But if you're not going to offer value, you're not going to get referred out to anybody either.
Referrals are the biggest key. I think if we're sending out a clip, Realtors, if they have a client, it's not a past client. Once a client, always reach out to them and see what they need, see how you can help them. And chances are you will get referrals 6 months later, a year later, because you're going to be on top of mind.
Yeah.
Also, Danny and Anthony, I think you both attest to this. I know for sure I have. The relationship with the other agent has actually gotten me transactions. I've had multiple times where an agent reached out to me.
So, even putting in an offer and, there's a few people in the same range. If an agent has done work with you, they can go to the seller and say, hey, listen, I've done work with them. I know this is going to be a smooth transaction.
And that doesn't dictate everything, but it does help having a relationship.
It's an underestimated value.
Yeah, so to sellers and buyers, that's the thing too. Like, hey, listen, I've done so many transactions. I've worked with so many realtors in this area. There's just like we spoke, right? The new thing is that there's a buyer's agency agreement that's going to protect both the buyers. It's going to protect also the sellers now, and even more, it's going to help protect the buyer's agents at the same time, which I think is better, right? So there's no changes to the industry per se, just some extra documents, but it's going to provide more security for everybody throughout the whole entire industry.
And it's going to change over to promote more talented agents versus.
Yeah, and let's face it, you want to work with someone, you want to make sure they know what they're doing.
Exactly. People are going to actually.
Oh, it's gonna bring people.
This is their
I think-
money and their life.
I think that's how it's going to change the most. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.